Gwe, hello and good morning. Thank you all for being here today with us to commemorate this special occasion. My name is Julie Palacier Lush, a proud Mi'kmaq woman of Epagwet and member of Lennox Island First Nation. I would like to welcome the Honorable Antoinette Perry, Lieutenant Governor of Prince Edward Island, the Honorable Dennis King, Premier of Prince Edward Island, Chief Darlene Bernard of Lennox Island, and Chief Junior Gould of Epagwet First Nations. And I also see Senator Francis is here with us again today. Together we acknowledge that the land upon which we gather is unceded Mi'kmaq territory. Epagwet is covered by the historic treaties of peace and friendship. I am humbled and honored to be your master of ceremonies for today. For all islanders, for all Aboriginal Mi'kmaq, today is significant as we are celebrating our third year of Treaty Day, being officially recognized on Prince Edward Island. Our day has begun with a beautiful song. Chief Bernard will then follow after with her remarks, as well as Chief Gould, and ending with a word from Premier Dennis King. There will be a ceremonial gift exchange following the remarks from our leadership, as was done by our ancestors during the signing of the peace and friendship treaties in centuries past. After this exchange, the chiefs and the premier will raise the Mi'kmaq Grand Council flag together to honor Treaty Day. The Redstone drummers from Epagwet First Nation, who just performed for us, will continue to drum after the flag has been raised, and we will all be able to enjoy their beautiful song together. Following this, we will close the ceremony with a few remarks, and our representatives will be available to the media at this time. It is my hope that the sharing of that prayer, we can become grounded and begin our Treaty Day ceremony in a positive and compelling way. I will now call upon Chief Darlene Bernard of Lennox Island First Nation to offer some words on behalf of the Aboriginal Mi'kmaq.
I'm just afraid my notes might go flying. Gwe, Nin Delasin Sagama, Darlene Bernard, Melking and Akipuisk. Good morning, Walik Sikpu, Jalasi, welcome. I am Chief Darlene Bernard of the Lennox Island First Nation. My spirit name is Strong Eagle Woman. I'd just like to welcome Her Honor, Antoinette Perry, Premier Dennis King, and our very own Epagwet Mi'kmaq Honorable Senator Brian Francis, and of course my colleague and friend, Chief Gould. Thank you for being here, everyone, and thank you all for coming. Well, Lalen, thank you to Julie for your words, and I want to thank the drummers for their opening with the Gathering song, and they will also honor us all and the Creator with an honor song when we raise the flag. Today marks the third annual Treaty Day on Epagwet, Prince Edward Island, and I want to thank you all for joining us here this morning. Today provides us with an opportunity to acknowledge our shared history. Beginning in 1725, a series of peace and friendship treaties were signed between the British Crown and the Mi'kmaq Aboriginal, or Mi'kmaq Nation. They are referred as the Peace and Friendship Treaties, as that was the cornerstone of these agreements. You may be wondering why we observe Treaty Day on October 1st. We do so as this is the date of the signing of the 1752 treaty and the date set to renew and promise for this agreement. And so, these treaties, as well as those signed in 1749 and 1760-61, formed the covenant chain of treaties between the British and the Mi'kmaq to ensure a peaceful coexistence of two self-governing bodies, the Mi'kmaq Nation and the British Crown. These treaties were mutually entered into, and since that time, the Mi'kmaq have kept our promises and upheld our side. In Abeguet and in other parts of Mi'kma'ki, known as Atlantic Canada, our parents and elders used oral stories to pass down their knowledge of the treaties. This was, and still is, a way to ensure the peace and friendship treaties and their importance in the protection of Mi'kmaq rights is never forgotten in Mi'kma'ki. Sorry. However, it cannot be said that the same held true for successive colonial governments over the centuries. In fact, not long after the Peace and Friendship Treaties of 1760 and 61, Samuel Holland arrived on the island, and this place started to take on its colonial identity. Abeguet became Prince Edward Island. Elsipogtog became the Hillsborough River, and so on. And the Mi'kmaq identity was fast disappearing. Then it became very clear that there was no intention at all to coexist. Samuel Holland embarked on a lottery, and that lottery handed over practically every inch of this island to absentee British landlords. So the island lost much of its Mi'kmaq identity through this process. And more painfully, the Mi'kmaq people were denied the promise to coexist on the land, their lands. And the original meaning of the treaties was washed away under a wave of neglect and total disrespect. Now, let's fast forward to 2021 and back to today, October 1st. From a positive perspective, and I'm a positive person, we have seen progress moving forward on the road to reconciliation with the declaration by the provincial government of today as Mi'kmaq Treaty Day and commemorating the first annual National Truth and Reconciliation Day yesterday. I applaud our Premier. And again, I would like to thank and recognize Premier King for announcing that he will be introducing an amendment to the Employment Standards Act to officially recognize September 30th as a provincial statutory holiday for all islanders. We encourage others to recognize it in workplaces, honor survivors, and ensure commemoration. And Treaty Day should also be a statutory holiday on PEI too. And we can see other encouraging initiatives. Our partners in the government of Prince Edward Island and now the town of Stratford are bringing back the Mi'kmaq place names that are inherent to Abeguet. It is very good to see Mi'kmaq place names in various parts of the island. They serve as a visual reminder to everyone of our shared history. And we see Elsipogtog once again taking its rightful place on signage next to the Hillsborough River. We need to do better. All place names on PEI should have the Mi'kmaq names. But we recognize there is much more to be done in this regard, and this effort is to fully recognize the Mi'kmaq reality will take many years to achieve. But it is starting, and we are moving forward together. Awareness of Mi'kmaq history and culture, as well as recognition of Mi'kmaq treaties, is central to reconciliation. And so, I would ask you to move forward with us, support us, and be an ally. Being a good ally means listening, learning, and acting. Please read the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's final report. Believe the experiences of residential school survivors. Demand justice for Indigenous peoples, land, and communities. 4, remember Aboriginal and treaty rights are non-negotiable. They are not up for debate, and they are not conditional on public opinion. And 5, celebrate. amplify, uplift, and support Indigenous peoples. One final note, remember that while these peace and friendship treaties were entered into by both parties, the Mi'kmaq were never conquered and never surrendered. We never gave up or ceded our lands. Mi'kma'ki is still Mi'kmaq territory, and the peace and friendship treaties continue to serve as the foundation for the relationship of the Mi'kmaq and all citizens of the region, including all Abiguetnawa, all islanders. We are all treaty people. Walalio, merci, thank you.
Well, Alan, thank you for your words, Chief Bernard. And now I would like to invite Chief Junior Gould of Abiguit First Nation to speak on behalf of the Abiguitwa Mi'kmaq. Chief Gould.
Hello. Great. Sean, my notes. Well, Alan, Chief Bernard, she did a perfect job hitting all of the right things that I never speak to. I always speak off script, and my communications main guy appreciates that now, so he doesn't even bother giving me any notes. So I'll try to stay on topic, but I'd like to thank Chief Bernard for saying everything that should be said. And I'd like to thank everybody here for being here that should be here, including you. Including the media who's observing this as an observer. I'm very pleased with the media coverage lately that we have had as the Abiguit First Nation peoples, and I think that fair coverage from our children and what it means to us to be respected and be a respected part of society. So Walalio, to thank you all, to PEI and to its residents. I think that Canada can do a better job, and the Premier is by example leading the nation by saying that First Nations people deserve to be heard, deserve a voice. Their children matter. I think one of the things I'd like to share with you is a quick little simple story with the Premier. And I've always said this, and I consider him a friend of the Mi'kmaq. I've always said that in Mi'kmaq, we would never allow our friends to fail. In our language, it's simple. A friend is Nitup, and it's spelled N-I-T-A-P, I believe, and I'm not a language guy. But what that simply says is the T sounds is like a D, so it's need up. So how do I teach that to my non-Aboriginal community? Okay, so if your friend falls, they need to get up. Sometimes they need help getting up. Sometimes you can just be close by where you can watch them get up on their own. A friend we call a need up knows that sometimes your friend needs help up. A friend is somebody that will always be by to give you a helping hand, dust you off when you need a help up. We always fall down. Some people don't get back up because they don't have the support. They don't have the help from the government, from the industry, from society to get back up. Our people have always been knocked down. And on the day after the National Truth Day of Reconciliation, I'm still emotional because it's triggering for our people. I know if my father was here today, he'd be crying still today. I know a lot of our survivors that are here and the drummers that sit here are all descendants. We have lost our parents. And I know if our parents are here, they'd be proud of us, but they'd be crying because they didn't get help up back in the day. There was nobody there in the provincial level that helped them up. Even in our own communities, we had to reconcile with ourselves. I've always said this. A lot of our First Nations didn't recognize or help our own people. So I think it's a real good acknowledgement where we are today. So the day after the Truth and Reconciliation, it's only fitting that the next step be treaty. Yesterday was the day of truth. If you ask the ancestors, you ask why I'm wearing this shirt, or if you go to the schools that I've attended, the little kids can tell you. This is what happened. This is what Chief Gould said. This is what Chief Bernard told us happened. I believe them. Walalio to society. Thank you to those children who believe the stories that our ancestors have taught us and passed down. The first day after the Day of Truth and Reconciliation, Senator Francis, I think the truth is about yesterday. Treaty is about moving forward now. And I've told the Premier this: when you say the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people, I will caution you, because one of these days Chief Gould's going to be the audience, and I'll raise my hand. What does that mean to you, Premier? And I think that's something our First Nations should do all across Canada. Anybody that says that, call them to question. And I'll use my Premier as an example of what we're doing today by raising the flag in Mi'kma'ki to represent the First Nations people that live here and territorially have a right to these lands and to these ways, to include us in his government process. He is not politically mandated to do so, but he has chosen because he is a friend of the Mi'kmaq. Moving these initiatives forward is only done in partnership, truth, and friendship. We've always negotiated in good faith. Our brothers in Nova Scotia who are not getting along with their province and are not getting the support from the federal government with respect to a treaty that we have a Supreme Court ruling and a right to utilize and to access and to be proud of, that's their problem. But it affects us in PEI. It will affect us tomorrow. It will affect us in the spring. So hopefully with the Premier's support and initiatives like this and other initiatives that they're involved in, we will do better than the rest of Canada. And I believe in PEI. I believe in us, and I believe that we can do things better than have been done in the past. My wife's not focusing the camera on me, so pay attention, Ella. So I truly believe what the Premier has done here, that he is a friend of the Mi'kmaq, and I think that by yesterday's showing and the support that Senator Francis has had, Chief Bernard and I have had, and all of us that represent the government in many different levels, we're proud today to raise the Mi'kmaq flag. We believe in the province initiative that they're taking and the support to represent all Islanders well. So on behalf of the Abequit First Nation and the Atlantic Sound First Nation, to all of the Islanders in PEI and Abequit, in our unceded territory, the Mi'kmaq, Walalio, we thank you from the bottom of my heart and my dad's heart. As a survivor of an Indian residential school in Shubenacadie, I know he would be proud of the efforts and the way we're moving forward. I made it through 2 days without being emotional, so Walalio.
Well, Alan, thank you for speaking to us, Chief Gould. I'd like to now invite Premier Dennis King to come forward and offer his remarks on behalf of the province. Premier King.
Thank you very much, Julie. I want to begin by saying thank you to our drum group. Another great job, guys, our young dancers. That's great to see our tradition and heritage continue within our youth, so great job to all. Her Honor, Antoinette Perry, the Lieutenant Governor of Prince Edward Island. A friend to all. Senator Francis, of course, a huge day for you yesterday, but don't let that lead you to believe that there's only one file that the senator is putting forward for PEI. He is the proudest Islander that I know, and he does a lot of great work for PEI, and I really do appreciate yesterday, but all of the initiatives you're putting forward. So I really think that bears saying. Chief Bernard and Chief Gould, like you, I think I can speak frankly. I feel very much like I am a NEDUP. Is that how we say NEDUP? I feel very much that I am a friend to you. And I look forward to the day when you are in position such as this to pick me up. And if I can do the same while I'm here, I'm happy to do so and committed to doing so. So thank you for being here. All of you who are here today, this is a great day. I'd like to say Kwe to start. I'm incredibly proud to be here to recognize the third celebration of Treaty Day for our province. And has been indicated by a couple of speakers, it comes on the heels of yesterday, the first ever National Day of Truth and Reconciliation in our province and in our country. It was a day that gave us the opportunity to listen, to learn, to reflect, to think, and to care for all of those who were victimized and remain victimized by the residential school system and our terrible, tragic past that's wrapped up within that. And while yesterday was a somber day, in many ways today, Treaty Day, encourages us and gives us the strength to look to the future. For a brighter future for all of us, where all of us collectively work together, nation to nation, to move toward many more better tomorrows. Treaty Day is about learning about the PEI Mi'kmaq history and culture, but it's also about a conversation long overdue about where we go from here. We cannot and we will not just sit here and talk, and I know Chief Bernard and Chief Gould agree. We must take action, learn from our past, and build a successful future for all of us. For me, it's a great honor to be the minister responsible for Indigenous relations in this province. I'm especially proud of the work we've been able to do in our short time with the First Nations here in Prince Edward Island, but I'm also the first to know that there's much left to do. I know that I have two willing partners who work side by side with me. They're driven, they're passionate, they're determined, they're impatient, and I'm glad for that. I'm glad for that because that's how things get done. Last year, we announced moving forward with a new treaty education initiative. And that has taken longer than we initially planned or hoped. And that's frustrating for Chief Bernard and for Chief Gould, and it's frustrating for me. But my commitment remains the same. We will get there. I'll give you my word that we will get there. I also wanted to talk a little bit about what Chief Bernard addressed. And I do so in saying I'm not a lawyer. I'm not any kind of expert when it comes to historical treaties. I know just enough to know that it's complicated and time-consuming, and as Chief Bernard said, won't be resolved overnight. I do know, however, that my time in this job is limited, and I want to use whatever time that is to do everything that I can do, that our government can do, to make a positive difference in improving the lives of the citizens in our First Nations communities, all in the interest of making our province better. Boiled down to its simplest form, and this is the point where the lawyers in government are looking and saying, I think you might be off script. But boiled down, in my mind, to its simplest form, a treaty is a commitment to work together. And as a reader of history, and I think most historians would agree, the treaties signed in Canada at the time of European colonization, they weren't created in the interests of fairness and collaboration, and certainly not the interest of fairness and collaboration that we deem acceptable today. So that process is working out. We will see that through. But my commitment to PEI has been one of fairness and collaboration with a focus on people first. And my commitment to PEI's First Nations includes all of that, and also a commitment to partnership and progress. A progress in which PEI's two First Nations communities and their citizens, and all Indigenous people who call Abequate home, not only share in economic and social successes, but they choose the areas of focus for that success. They help lead the charge, they own the benefits, and they use them to pave their way to the ultimate goal, which is independence. And our government recognizes the importance of having Indigenous organizations, having nation-to-nation government, and how we make this meaningful change happen. That is why this year we're providing an additional funding for 5 members of the Indigenous Working Group to build capacity and to do additional consultation with their members to inform the work of the Murdered and Missing Indigenous Women and Girls Calls for Justice. In addition, I'm proud today to share with you that I'm providing a $50,000 grant to support all-in-the-way efforts to advance reconciliation within the province and to further their work in ensuring the inherent rights of the PEI Mi'kmaq are protected and upheld. As a government, we will continue to work closely with multiple levels of government, with industry, with community organizations, and all who care on the calls to action and justice from both the TRC and the MMIWG reports. As I've said in the past, and it's something that I firmly believe, every single step we make together is a step in the right direction. Meaningful change doesn't come overnight, but we do it a step at a time, a bite at a time, and we will get there. And when we get there, it will be in the very best interest of all of our province. Together, united, our shared vision and intent to drive change will benefit everyone. I'm proud to say that there are countless islanders and people in Canada that have a strong will to make this happen, I believe I have demonstrated a strong will to make things happen, and I commit again to use my time in this office, whatever length it be, to make sure that we have progress, that we have community, that we have commonality, and that we have commitment to being better. Our island has been and will continue to be a clear example of how respectful relations and shared goals can result in meaningful action. I want to thank everyone for being here today, Her Honor, Senator, Chiefs, all who are here today to celebrate Treaty Day. The best for us is yet to come, and I look forward to finding that with all of you. Thank you, Walalia.
Walalan, thank you for your remarks, Premier King. You are truly an ally to the Mi'kmaq. And now the chiefs and the Premier will exchange gifts just as our ancestors would have done centuries ago. Now I would like to call both chiefs and the Premier to come forward to raise the Mi'kmaq flag together. Please feel free to take photographs. The Redstone drummers will honor us with their Mi'kmaq honoring song while the flag is being raised. Okay.
So what we're going to do the Mi'kmaq honor song. The very first push-up that we do in the 4 push-up ceremony is we're going to honor our ancestors. We're going to honor Darcy's mom, Darcy's grandmother, Timmy's mom, CJ's grandmom, our parents that are buried, and we're here to celebrate. For the 215 that brought light to the Indian Residential School issue, we do our first push-up in honor of our ancestors who aren't here to celebrate with us. The Redstone drummers and the Lone Cry singers of the Advent First Nation always come together at these events, together collectively. It's one drum. I'm honored that Chief Bernard will stand beside me as they sing the honor song on behalf of our ancestors and honor the treaties moving forward that will continue to negotiate good faith. And that's how Friends do it. Friends come together to negotiate in the best interest of everybody. Get me dead of a day. Come daddy of the day. Big a master. And now we have get me dead of a day. Come
Wilalio, thank you all for joining and participating in our Treaty Day event. The official parties will now be available to the media. This brings our commemoration to a close. Once again, I am humbled and honored to have been a part of this important day. Unset Nogama, all my relations.